Hello there, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
In honor of Black History Month, we thought we'd pay tribute and showcase the great defining characters, defining black characters the world has come to love. Dragon, I'm going to stop doing this. This is offensive. My God, what am I doing? Can we start over, Dragon? Take two.
Okay, fine.
I was like, I'm just realizing how bad of an idea this is. Like maybe just a hello there in the Lando voice would have been good, but
okay.
All right, take two, everyone. Sorry about that. Take two. I'm just gonna do the hello there in Lando's voice. Hello there! Greetings, full armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
In honor of Black History Month, we thought we'd pay tribute and showcase the great defining black characters the world has come to love.
This year, we're looking to the stars. Star Wars, that is. Folks, we're doing something special. In the spirit of trilogies and Star Wars, we're examining a black icon from each era in the trilogy, if you will.
So without further delay, let's explore the history of Lando Calrissian on Black History Heroes Star Wars.
Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars. Do 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 do. Let's go to Cloud City.
Say, Dragon, that was rather harmonized. I'm kind of proud of. I'm not proud of my bit at the beginning. I should have thought that through more. Just like I should have thought through, like, oh, gee, let's see an R-rated character that kids couldn't look up to. Shaft, fucking idiot. You see, folks, all this proves that Dragon and specifically me, are the whitest men on the internet. So that's why we do this Black History Heroes exercise to kind of culture ourselves. And Dragon, you know, we've gone through the DC side of things, we've gone through the Marvel side of things, but now we're going to the Star Wars side of things, which is a little bit more of a heady route to go down. There's not like decades worth of comic history there with these characters. There's only kind of like some expanded universe lore that may or may not even be canon anymore. And just the general what we're kind of like hanging on to, especially with this guy, especially with the big man in the room, kind of the defining black character in the Star Wars saga, the cultural impact. So we've already done Finn. Kind of came down on Finn is where, you know, it's definitely true that they could have done more with him in the movies. I personally think that Rise of the Resistance is a perfect representation of what Finn should have been in the movies, at least in the latter side of the trilogy. And then, of course, Mace Windu was a really fun conversation, got into the moral complexities of him and, you know, the gray area of the Force and the Jedi, if you will. But now we're going to come down on a man who, while definitely, no doubt, morally complex, is just cool, man. He's the cool side of the goddamn pillow for all intents and purposes. It's Lando. So, Dragon, let's not waste any time. Let's get to the debut.
All right. So, of course, the great Lando Calrissian, he appears in The Empire Strikes Back from 1980. Can you believe it's been 40 years, man? We've had 40 years of Lando, 40 years since Empire Strikes Back. Crazy, right?
That's actually kind of insane. Yeah.
All right, so
it's like Spider-Man, you know, Peter Parker's like legitimately correct in calling it a really old movie at this point.
It's getting there.
Right.
All right. So point being, so Lando Calrissian, he appears in Empire Strikes Back, way back 1980, and portrayed by the incomparable Billy D. Williams, a creation of George Lucas and the Kaz, man, Lawrence Kasdan.
The Kaz, yes.
Kaz. So the word is originally, believe it or not, originally there was a different actor considered for Lando who said no to the part. Do you know who this actor is?
No, tell me.
Right, now, again, I believe this. I think this is true. Yaphet Kotto, you know, the guy from Alien.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, another space movie. So, Yaphet Kotto was originally. This is way before Alien too, so it's another little tidbit though. So he could have gotten his big break a lot earlier in space. So he was considered for the role, and here's the thing. So Kotto thought, and this is very interesting, getting to kind of the Black history of it. Kotto thought this character would be killed off, as so many, especially in the 80s, so many newly introduced black characters were, black actors were.
Oh, okay.
You're in a movie and then
Yeah.
killed off. So that was kind of like, you know what? I imagine Yaffa Ghost
I
probably
mean,
thinking, you know
either
what?
that or like appear in a movie and just be like totally unceremonious about it, like
Sure,
Superman 3.
sure. That's what I'm imagining at the time he sees this role. It's like, you know what? Cool role, but I don't think this guy's gonna have any stay power, man. I don't know if I want to. What's the point, man? If it's not gonna have any stay power.
In
Again,
Dragon,
maybe
of
not.
course, the irony is that out of all the original trilogy characters, he's one of the few to stick around. He's one of the few to live.
Very true. Very true.
It's like it's him, Chewie, and the droids, basically.
So here's where things get really heady. I heard this too. I heard that. So apparently,
Why
Billy
don't
D.
we go
Williams.
find out together?
I did some research on that. We're going to get to that later. So, okay. All right. So, Billy D. Williams, apparently, and I had no idea about this. Apparently, Billy D. Williams, he auditioned for Han Solo way back during A New Hope.
Oh, okay.
Little did he know.
That makes sense.
Little did he know that Lucas and company, they kind of knew in their core they knew they were going to go with Harrison Ford, but he was just doing a little kind of cast reading for it. Like they didn't know they were like, okay, let's not. I don't want to be in all my movies, American Graffiti and Star Wars. We're just going to have Harrison read the role, and then we'll figure the Han thing out later. So back when they were kind of considering other Hans, like your Kurt Russell Hans and so on and so forth, Billy D. Williams apparently one of the other auditioners. So. The point is, they had Billy D. Williams on the back burner. Says, I like this guy, but at their core, how can we fight Harrison Ford in the role? He's born to play it. So, point being, Billy D. Williams, he's in the back of their minds. And oddly enough, I believe in '71, basically in the early '70s, Harrison Ford and Billy D. Williams actually worked together once on television. So I don't know if that factored into the casting at all, because maybe these two guys, they played off of each other. Maybe they had a good time on set, or it's just pure coincidence and then sheer Hollywood magic. Who knows?
Eating some Harrison Ford chicken.
Sure.
I don't know. I just like to think that all Hollywood sets have some sort of magic celebrity chicken.
So anyways. another thing I heard, I don't know how true this is, I gotta be honest. I heard that apparently they flirted with the idea of and remember, I mean, there's a name drop of this in A New Hope. So they flirted with the idea of Lando being the original a clone from the Clone Wars that was mentioned in A New Hope.
Oh man, that'd be insane. So basically, instead of Jango Fett's, it'd just be all Landos.
Pretty much. I mean, now bear in mind, I'm still convinced the original idea for Clone Wars, of course, it's just the name drop in A New Hope, hence all the hype and everything. Like, General in the Clone, Anakin Skywalker and I were generals in the Clone Wars, implies that it was just gonna be like almost like like you have like a doppelganger of yourself within a war. That was always the assumption you make with Clone Wars, and of course, it ended up being like a whole bunch of one guy. So I don't know if it's supposed to be like a whole Cloud City of Landos. That'd be a wonderful place to visit, at least for a day. But here's the most charming of all the little background things. Apparently, before they landed on Lando as the name, Lando's original name was Landau.
Landau.
I'm sure Martin Landau appreciated that one. Right. No, serious. Okay. So, but yeah, so apparently they reworked it to Lando. I don't know if I heard it. I guess as far as the marketing, I don't know how true that is. I haven't checked back to the trailer to see if it was like they're advertising, Landau Calrissian, but
Billy D. Williams is Landau Calrissian.
So, Tiki, what are your impressions of Lando? Like overall, how would you feelings on the man?
Dragon, I mean, I really do think that for me and like most, men in our generation, Lando was kind of like our introduction to like potential blaxploitation style awesomeness within the African American community. Because Lando does have hints of that. He's got the style, he's got the flair, he's got the wardrobe. He's got the, just everything about him just exudes cool. And it's a very and of course with the with that short film that you showed me, I just think the character does kind of like lend itself to blaxploitation just so well. And so that is my first impression, just very simply, Dragon. I just think it's a great kind of like Lando himself is a celebration of all the cool that the African American community and culture has to offer.
Yeah, if you want to, if you want to kind of pull the thread, I mean, of course, Star Wars is very much based in the serial nature of things and kind of the old serials, particularly Flash Gordon, and almost Lando feels like kind of a black exploitation kind of Flash Gordon pull almost, to an
Sure,
extent.
sure.
He's even dressed like it, that's the awesome thing. So Lando for me, Lando is the definition of a cool Star Wars character, man. He's kind of it's kind of pulling the magic trick of, okay, we met Han Solo in A New Hope, we love him, we can't pull that trick again. Lo and behold, we kind of get a second Han Solo through Lando to an extent, kind of like kind of a freshly introduced character in this movie who has a connection to Han, but also is kind of from that same world. It's like we pulled the same hat trick in a really different, awesome way. Lando Calrissian. What can I say? He's got charm for decades. Not even charm for days.
And of course, I feel like Lando has one of the best character introductions in all of Star Wars.
Oh, that he does, my friend. That he does.
Do you want to talk about that now, or
we'll build to that. We're gonna let that
build to that.
Anyway, so he's got charm for decades. He's got a great sense of style with the capes and everything, and he's very hospitable. Again, it's all.
You know what, with the capes, like that was kind of a funny Easter egg in Solo, but I think I would have preferred to just see a full wardrobe, like filled with different styles that Lando would wear, and not just the capes. I feel like that would be more his speed. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about that? Just,
well, I mean, he does have other.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like in my own headcanon, I just think of Lando as like just the ultimate like style, fashion guy in the Star Wars canon.
Well, remember, he does have a whole bunch of other costumes, not just all capes. They're mostly capes, but there are some other.
Well, I'm saying they very much draw attention to the capes.
Yeah, it completes the ensemble, and it's like the one thing that he has outside of Vader, no cape.
What if in the Star Wars mythology, like Vader is a cape is kind of like a Hitler mustache?
Oh God!
And Lando's like, you know what? Screw it. I don't care. I'm owning the cape. Anyways.
Okay, so all the anyway, so the other great thing about Lando is that, like all of these great things we love about the character, they're all somewhat calculated as he is kind of. As he just slyly plays the angles to his advantage. That's the really great thing about Lando. He's the smuggler who essentially weaponized charm and turns it into a business, and got him really far. That's a really cool thing about Lando. He's weaponized charm, and it got him so far in our story. It's awesome. All right, let's talk legacy.
Okay, so legacy Dragon. I feel like beyond just kind of like the introducing us to kind of like the cool factor of the African American community and culture and everything like that. The legacy of Lando, I feel like overall is the fact that he is just, in terms of like if you're playing a game of Dungeons and Dragons, he is very much morally gray. I'm not sure what the exact classification for that in D&D terminology is, but, he's smack dab in the center, Dragon. He is like the gray area of morals when it comes to Star Wars. And it's very appropriate to have that in the middle movie, where he comes in and I don't know. It's, like you said, I love a character who can play the angles and get out of situations. And I think it's a shame that they didn't explore more of that in Rise of Skywalker. Like, I called that Rise of Skywalker, he was basically going to be just a walk-on cameo, and he pretty much was, even though from a storytelling point of view, there's a lot of stuff you could have done with him. So, anyways, that's what I think of when I think of legacy, is just the cool factor plus the, the moral ambiguity at play with him.
So, of course, first black Star Wars character. That's at least first black major. Star Wars character. That's a huge one. Billy D. Williams, of course, getting in the role. Is he not
the first on-screen black Star Wars character?
Yeah, his first black on screen. On screen.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah,
I'm saying like some people, of course, you have the James Earl Jones factor of it all, but obviously that.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. And then technically, if you want to count, like, I don't know, like Tina Turner from the holiday special.
No, it's not. It's not Tina Turner.
Oh, who am I thinking of?
Well, I want to say thinking of Diane Carroll, but I can't remember.
Yeah, that's what I'm
100% who
thinking
was
of.
her.
I'm sorry.
I think it was. All I know is it wasn't Tina Turner. Pretty sure it was Diane
Yeah, I'm
Carroll. But
sorry. I'm getting my 70s black icons mixed up. My
again, folks,
bad.
you need a bumper
Yet
sticker.
another example of why Tiki is the whitest man on the internet.
I take issue with that,
Anyway,
sir. I am the whitest man. David I.
I feel
Pierce
like you're
scheme.
the I feel like you're the whitest man in terms of skin pigment. I'm the whitest man culturally.
Anyway, so anyway,
Because, like I've already pointed out, I am Italian, so I've kind of got like that olive thing going on with my skin.
right.
It's not much, but it's there. It's like
Right.
tan-ish.
Okay, Mr. Ish. Let's get back on point here. So, Billy D. Williams, of course, in the role, and of course, Billy Williams. You got to remember, at this time, Billy Williams he did a little bit of black exploitation stuff, which I imagine may have bled into the role ultimately. But also, he was essentially had a nickname, and this kind of fed a little bit into the black exploitation thing as well, where he was kind of the. I want to think this nickname was an actual thing he was called, basically the Black Clark Gable, and I love that idea for Billy D. Williams being the Black Clark Gable because that's awesome.
Totally.
Because again, he had the respectability and the charm factor. Everyone just kind of flocked to him. I know he did Fences, he did the play of Fences, played Martin Luther King Jr. once, which is really neat.
Fences is a really challenging role too.
That's what I'm saying. He's gotten her. Of course, Brian's song being another thing Billy Williams had done at that time. Like these are things kind of built him up a little bit in the culture. And of course, the big thing that built him up, commercials. That's a really big thing. 45, of course, that's a huge one for me. Still doing he did like a chicken commercial as well, which is kind of funny. Like I think it was I forget if it was for KFC or what, but he did some commercial for chicken. So, right?
Well, at the time, Dragon, it wouldn't be KFC, it'd just be Kentucky Fried Chicken. All right.
Right. Anyway, so of course the other kind of big noteworthy kind of etchings on the Lando cape, if you will, we have we expand Han's world via his friends. We get to kind of learn about Han Solo through his friends. Again, Lando being kind of most like kind of colorful version of that, where you get to see, oh man, look at all the great stuff, like all the fun characters Han Solo's encountered in this time. Let's see, the original owner of the Millennium Falcon. There's a huge one.
Yes.
In relation to Han Solo, blew up the second Death Star in said Millennium Falcon. That's even bigger.
Like, he's probably one of the biggest war heroes in the Star Wars mythology for that alone.
That is true. Of course, he's an administrator. And basically, here's the thing. I know he's an administrator of the Cloud City, but he pretty much runs the place. And he always felt like the unofficial mayor of Cloud City to me.
Totally. That's always the vibe I got. Totally.
The thing, he feels like a politician. He feels like the mayor. He feels like he runs the place. I think he's the administrator, probably the head administrator.
He's kind of like halfway between a politician and a gangster.
Sure, and that's the thing. You kind of have so basically we have a high status and a respectability to an African American character as well. It's really big for Lando as well. But again, also that I love that Lando at the end of the day, even going back to Empire, he's not just the token black friend, which so many things as a thing. We have like the token black friend. He has a huge. There's a lot of. Let me rephrase that. He does have a huge part to play. He's kind of a huge plot and he's kind of a huge plot point in Empire. Of course, he's like everything kind of turns bad once we see our old buddy Lando, and there's a really nice character connect with him. Again, we're been really liking this character, and really kind of caring about what happens to him. And of course, he ends 2 trilogies technically with his role in the battle.
Oh God,
he does.
Yeah.
Look, it didn't end
even though
the
role in the second one could have been its own movie in its own right with how much we didn't see, but I digress.
You're right about that. I'm just saying he was present, and again, he was kind of the cavalry in the second one, so Anyway, so also big the mispronunciation of the name. That's a huge. Again, the famous Han versus Han debate.
Oh yeah, right.
So with that, it's like we mispronounced the name in Star Wars very blatantly, and like no one cared because he was so cool. That's kind of true with him because everyone's like always jumping down movies nowadays. But again, for years and years and years, you had the whole
especially Star Wars fans, no less.
But you don't hear of like the great Han versus Honda because no one cared because that's the way Lando says it, and we're fine. All right, of course, showcase the smuggler's lifestyle and a little bit of the dark side of Han Solo's profession with the double cross. That's the other kind of big kind of legacy factor. Okay,
All right, so let's get into the arc of the character and this is another guy who's technically like in it from all three trilogies. If you want to count Solo within the prequel era, it's definitely the era. So let's say all three eras of Star Wars.
there you go.
Not trilogies. Yeah. So we'll start with Solo, and he doesn't have that big of a role to play in Solo. And unfortunately, Dragon, I hate to say it, but I really do think that the fembot
L3.
Okay, L3. I'm sorry that she's not as memorable as K2SO, all right? L3, I hate to say it, but I kind of think she kind of weighs Lando down. Don't get me wrong, I feel like Donald Glover is doing a great job, and he's more or less doing an imitation, but it's a great imitation. But with this movie, it does kind of get, we see sort of of course, the infamous deal that gets on the Millennium Falcon, which we'll talk about later on. Honestly, that's really about it, Dragon. I don't have much positive to say about him in this movie, so why don't you take the lead on it?
Okay, well, first of all, I also had some supplementary kind of like basically some early Lando stuff I also wanted to fit into Solo. So apparently, Lando, as we heard in Solo, he had a really good relationship with his mother. Basically had a good family life. That's kind of the consensus. He had a good family life, and I really found this really interesting thing about his father is that apparently Lando Calrissian's father gave him a really valuable piece of advice that shaped his life entirely. The advice was, you can't think deeper than your pockets.
Yeah.
Which again is kind of advice that really defined his lifestyle, and that he's very much thinking about kind of the entrepreneurial kind of side of Lando Calrissian, which gets him far, and of course the gambler within Lando Calrissian. It's you gotta remember he's about like 5 years or so older than Han Solo, which kind of gives him kind of a breadth of experience, and kind of makes him kind of Han as Han is kind of finding himself in that movie, which is kind of neat. And of course Donald Glover, as we mentioned, is very, very well cast. Again, you can't get any better than Donald Glover's in that role, embodying that character, like a younger version.
He was the thing that everyone was most looking forward to in that movie, and I almost kind of feel like that movie should have just been a Lando movie with Han as a supporting character.
I feel if Solo had performed better, I think we would have seen a spin-off of Lando. At least we would have seen it faster, if that's still in development somewhere or not. I don't know. It'd be cool. They're never going to do this. Disney Plus, we have like the Lando Chronicles, and you could have both Donald Glover, and we can handle that dangling plot thread from Rise of
Yeah. That'd be cool.
Yeah, so just looking at the younger Lando. So younger Lando, of course, when we meet him in Solo, he's the smuggler who built a business and success from his... I always read that he built his business and his success from charm and luck. Again, the biggest tool in Lando's arsenal, charm. But also a lot of luck. Again, hence the gambler kind of thing. He's like, basically, it's like, imagine this, because remember, he's retired at the start of Solo. It's like a young tech mogul who retires at an early age to become a sportsman. And again, Lando is if they had another term for Lando, it's like kind of the smuggler, and he's kind of like the guy who runs Cloud City. He's like, he is the gambler. He's the gamesman. That is Lando in a nutshell. He basically charms fate out of its fortune. That's kind of literally what his life course is always. He's always getting rich off of just being lucky and just kind of charming the pants off everybody. He's kind of the complete opposite of Han Solo in that regard, where Han Solo, he has roguish charm, and that we, the audience, think he's charming, but other people say, oh, that Han Solo guy. But again, some people dig him. Some people are like, he charms the camera. And
Han Solo is kind of like rough around the edges in real life, and the audience loves him for the rough around the edges qualities. Whereas Lando is very much kind of like this straight-laced, sort of like, pleasant to your face. Like you said, Dragon, ultimately he just weaponizes pleasantries, and that is his main sort of move set is the pleasantries.
Yeah, and again, it's like, his roguish charm. Basically, Han Solo has a roguish charm, and he has like his whole "I've got a bad feeling about this" kind of mentality. Where Lando's always like, "Remember Solo? You have like, I got a good feeling about this." That should have been Lando's line, because again, Lando in life, he's always got a good feeling about everything. Lando's like, he knows it's going to work out for him. Han Solo, not so much. Bad string of luck there. Again, these two are just kind of bred for friendship. Just to speak to the friendship a little bit here, just kind of the arc of that movie, where they are. Again, as I mentioned, we have the name runner, the Han versus Han, and now we have kind of a little backstory of that, where it's like, oh, he calls him, just kind of get on to kind of prod the bear a little bit, which is kind of just kind of funny. Kind of a fun origin to that. I think at the end he sees himself in Han. Basically, he sees himself in Han, that Han is like the not as suave or lucky version of himself, but he admires he admires the roguish charm and the can-do attitude. This guy does not have as easy as I am. He's kind of in the same line of work as me. He's a little younger in it, but he's going for it. He's doing his own merits, and he's impressing me at times, like when he's beating me at cards, surprisingly, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So Lando, playboy, the playboy in space, pulled into the adventure yet again, kind of pulled out of his kind of retirement, given a taste of the thrill and hardship of with Han Solo in tow, your luck's gonna run out, buddy boy. And case in point, L3. You have kind of your version of a Chewbacca, more of a Captain Kirk vibe with the Calrissian Chronicles and kind of this will they, won't they with the droid. But
okay, the Calrissian Chronicles is wonderful.
That's what I'm saying. That's great. That's what they should call. That's what they should call the Disney Plus spinoff.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. Come on, that's a freebie right there. Come on now. But honestly, Dragon, like, I hate to be a broken record here. I wish that. And I don't want to spend this whole podcast talking about Solo. We have a lot of other ground to cover.
Yeah, we're
here.
almost through the Solo stuff.
Yeah. I wish that less of Lando's story in Solo was directly tied into L3. I don't know. Maybe I'm just biased because L3 is like by far like the fucking F tier of Star Wars droids as far as I'm concerned. Like you've got Rex in the God tier of Star Wars droids, and then C-3PO in the A+ tier, and then all the way down at the bottom is L3, frankly.
Yeah, again, I'll admit L3 does not hold up well in the rewatch. I will raise no arguments against that. I will say this though, get L3. I don't think she's the worst thing in the world. But here's in relation to Lando. Here's the important thing from L3. The important thing from L3 is that again, as bon vivant as Lando is in life, it's like very carefree, casual. Like he's going from kind of like person to person. He'll flirt with the droid, but also he'll go around the place. Is that there is a true loyalty there? When L3 was hurt, he put his life on the line to save L3. Like if he were truly just kind of like
honestly, I feel like it was just kind of over the top. I don't know. You're right. I like the point you're getting at.
What I'm getting at is this is like seeds of what's to come with Lando when we get to Empire. I think that's that's the bigger takeaway. Is the fact that again, even though it seems like he's just going with the flow, making the best deal that suits him, is that there is a person underneath there that gets brought out by the time we get the Jedi. I think that's kind of what that's the pipe I'm trying to lay here. Also, speaking of that, he's terrible at making deals. And I love how we make that a fun gag in Solo. We did the handshake gag where he says, where basically gets cheated out of his percentages with Beckett, and he just like, I don't like it. I don't agree with it.
For as much of a scoop talker as he is, you're right. Yeah.
Of course, this is paid off big time later with Vader. We're he's terrible at deals. As great as Lando is, he's charming as the man is, terrible at deals and just. All right, so of course he leaves Han and the company high and dry, which kind of leads to the I love the subtropical moon money pit. I love that. I love it. He lucked into a moon, kind of a mini moon casino, but it's not making him any money. He's just doing it. He's only there for his pleasure, like a little vacation spot. I love that idea.
Right.
All right, so again, evolution bringing us to the next stage here. Is evolution for Lando is he's making his own luck again, hence the cheating at cards. There are seeds of you love them, you just can never fully trust them, which again is definitely going to pay off when we get to Empire. A little pit stop on the way. Rebels.
Hey, it's the first time I've ever watched this show, so I have no idea who these characters are, except maybe vaguely Kanan and Ezra, because I've heard their names floated around.
Yeah, they're a big deal.
Yeah, yeah. But I don't even know what they're up. I don't even know what their deal is. I just know that they are a big deal.
Would you like me to tell you, or would you like to find out eventually once you catch up the Clone Wars and everything
Oh,
else?
fine. Let me find out eventually, just because we don't really have time for a
Well, they're not in
backstory
Clone
here.
Wars. Just so you know, they're not in Clone Wars. They're
I know they're not in
okay.
Clone
Okay,
Wars.
I'm
I
just
know that.
all right, all right. I don't want to confuse you with my vagary. Okay. Anyway, so idiots are right. Which, by the way, a little fun fact: the episode's called "Idiots Are Right," and that's the winning hand in Sabacc that won him the Falcon. That's what
Dragon,
it's
I
called.
feel like there should be like a mobile app version of Sabacc or something like
They
that if there isn't already.
they actually sell the card game. People can actually play Sabacc.
Nice, nice. But still,
Yeah.
I want an app of it because
Well,
who gets
I wouldn't
together
be.
and
I'd be
actually plays
surprised
cards
if there.
anyways?
I wouldn't be surprised if there was a digital version of it out there. I hadn't really looked for it.
I'll get back to you on that.
All right. So, point being is this one's real short. Point being, this is like an older Lando from kind of the Solo times. You know, he's back in the game, hence coming out.
This was a really fun episode, though. I mean, this wasn't necessarily the greatest sell for me to watch the show, just because I wasn't crazy about the characters. But this was a really fun kind of like, look at all these characters I don't know interacting with Lando in a fun way.
Yeah.
So you've got like you got kind of like the the guy getting jealous over Lando because he's the smooth talker with the ladies. Dragon, I don't know what that feels like at all, because like God knows I'm just the smoothest talker in the world when it comes to women. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, Mr. Casanova, Mr. Polynesian Casanova. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But anyways, but seriously, I love how throughout this episode, like the whole crew, kind of like Lando just starts to get under the crew's skin in different ways, and he's pulling all these different hijinks. He's like, he literally just like Dragon. I get the feeling that the girl that I don't know all my Star Wars lore, but I know enough. Like the girl that he offers up as a slave, like that race is a slave race, right?
Yeah, remember the ones in Jabba's palace? That's her race.
That's what I thought. Yeah. So like that would basically be the equivalent of like, here I'm going to offer this, this African American woman up as your personal slave. So it's like really some bold moves that Lando's pulling in this episode. But I also like how he knows that she is clever enough to go along with it and do the escape pod thing. By the way, Dragon, the escape pod thing, Rise of the Resistance. Every time I see an escape pod in Star Wars now, it's going to be impossible for me to not think of Rise of the Resistance. Anyways.
But yeah, that's the thing.
So yeah, I enjoyed this episode quite a bit.
Yeah. I love that we got Billy Dee Williams back. I love that Billy Dee Williams, essentially, he's always played the Lando character in these things. Whenever, like, if they've reached out to him, he said yes. That's a really cool thing.
Like Robot Chicken and stuff like that.
That's what I'm saying. Rarely do you not hear... Yeah, rarely do you not hear Billy Dee Williams playing Lando Calrissian and other things. I think even one of Dancing he did that Dancing with the Stars thing where he was Lando. He dressed in, had the costume and
what?
Dance.
Oh God!
Yeah, I meant. Yeah, I obviously didn't sense he wasn't much, but because you
didn't. But
well, here's the thing. He was it's more of a more charming when you say it, but it's less.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it doesn't seem like Tiki, you need to watch this Dancing with the Stars clip to understand the historical and cultural significance of Lando. No, I understand.
Yeah, remember he wasn't really tearing up the dance floor. I mean, again, had he been a little younger, I'm sure he would have.
I do remember him on the show. I just don't remember this one particular clip.
Yeah, he had the cape and everything. It was anyway.
Oh God.
Anyway. So, what was I getting? Oh yeah, the point being, so Lando is back. He's he's still charming as all get out, and you're still cheating at Sabacc, which is great. And again, that's how he wins our little droid friend here. But again, it's a question of like, did he even cheat at Sabacc to get the droid all per kind of like roping their help in, kind of doing the smuggling run that he had going on, his little business deal. And that's the thing. There's still that element of you don't know if you can trust Lando, but again, chances are he's going to kind of land on the side of angels. So if he can help it, he's going to like, I'm going to trade this girl in as means I can get my shipment. But by the same token, she'll be fine. She's resourceful. I've seen these guys in action. She'll get out of there, no question. It'll be fine. And that's like I think the best bit with Lando is the ending, where he's just like, after all this, like he doesn't pay him, he just gives him the droid back, which basically that was kind of the thing he had over their heads, and basically the droid in question, Chopper. That Dave Filoni does the voice of Chopper, by the way, all the beeps and the boops.
Okay, I will say that the droid was probably the biggest selling point of a character that I saw.
My favorite thing about the episode too is the fact that even though Chopper was essentially sold, basically traded, obviously they bet the droid and kind of lost it, kind of all the Millennium Falcon, if you will. And I love that Chopper was so offended by being sold, essentially being traded to Lando, that over time though he loves Lando, like everybody loves Lando.
Right.
Like before he sold Hera into slavery, he was like, "Oh man, this guy rocks! I love this guy." Anyway, so point being at the end there, it's like Lando's like, I knew I knew they stole my fuel. It's fine. That's why I didn't give him all the money I owed him. That's like,
I
yeah.
also really like that he's just kind of like expositing that to no one in particular, just because he's proud of himself.
Also, like the little mining inflatable pig thing, the little
Well,
puppet.
yeah, right.
Oh, by the way, speaking of that, big arc, Lando getting into the mining business, which is huge.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Big
I
thing,
liked
big
my
thing,
little
yeah.
headcanon is that Solo gave him a taste of the whole like coaxium heist, where basically, obviously I didn't think about it that when they made this, but I like to think that the way it all works out, Lando got a little bit of a mining operation with the whole spice mines to the whole coaxium job. I like to think that kind of gets him maybe there is something in this mining thing, and then over time he's just kind of built the business into it, which eventually leads to Cloud City. Speaking of which,
Okay. All right. So Empire, I mean, of course, I don't even think we need to spend that much time on this just because everyone knows his role on Empire like the back of their hand, It's just like he's it. He is kind of like the big linchpin of that movie. He's I mean, I love how with Empire they kind of pull this sleight of hand with his character where he's the biggest betrayer in the whole movie, and yet by the end of the movie you still like him somehow.
yes,
And
and
I feel like because of that, the reason why that happens is just because of how they write him and because of, you know, it's kind of like the one man versus a whole city sort of thing. He has to have the the motivation of the Rebel Alliance at heart, but by the same token, he has to be politically savvy with the Empire. And it all kind of like he is a man that very much is sort of like in over his head politically in Empire when we meet him. And it's a great kind of starting point to sort of build the rest of his character off of.
absolutely. You know what's really crazy about Lando and Empire? It doesn't show up until an hour and 20 minutes in the movie.
I know. That's, yeah.
So there's a running gag with Lando Calrissian, apparently. Apparently, he just wins everything playing cards, including his job at Cloud City, by the way. Which is awesome. It's just kind of fun, like just again the gambler strikes again, and it's awesome. So, we see we saw the evolution of the man, kind of running the mining operation to this quasi politician, definitely leader as the administrator. We give importantly, I think the big progression in Lando and all this, what separates this from like just him and Solo is that Lando is given something to care about and protect versus the usual is kind of
Yeah,
operating
for
within
sure.
his own self-interest because he cares about the people of Cloud City. Again, he's kind of the unofficial mayor. He and basically we put him in a situation where it's a compromise in a time of war for peace and love, baby. Just quote that. For peace, but at a cost, at a personal cost. And that's the thing where, as welcoming as Lando was, he is kind of plotting a setup for his friends dropping by, and that's the thing. He's like, "Oh, Lando!" On a rewatch, like, "Lando, don't do this, man, no." But again, he made a decision to protect people and kind of his future at the cost of his past, which, of course, through Han Solo, the symbol of himself. The other thing we should
Yeah.
probably mention is, this deal is getting worse all the time. Again, Lando just again, he did all this, and Vader just alters the deal. God help you, pray he doesn't alter it further, man. That's just
I will
for
admit that Robot Chicken sketch is like a little repetitive, but it was fun. It was
it
fun.
was. It was. That's the thing. Lando, he's a survivor. Knowing how to. There's a really great moment in that where Lando he stands up to Darth Vader, then he realizes, okay, this is a bad idea. When he does that, it's Lando, the survivor, knowing okay, he knows how to play the power game again as said gambler, and he knows when to compromise when it suits him. So again, he's going to say no to Vader now, and of course, once the old moral kind of wheel starts to turning, his ethics come into play. And in retrospect, he it's really interesting in retrospect. Like, would he have left his friends out to dry? You know, that's kind of the interesting. That's kind of the interesting question, I guess. Like, would Lando? Would he have left his friends out to dry had things not played out the way they did? I don't know.
Well, it's an interesting kind of contrast to Han's arc in A New Hope, if you think about it.
Yeah, it is. That's what I'm kind of getting at. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so Lando has matured. He's taking responsibility for his actions, even at the cost of his new status quo. But he evacuates the place. Everyone gets out of Cloud City fine. I love that little detail. Everyone evacuates the city. Everybody's getting out of there fine as the Empire strikes back. Meanwhile, so let's go to Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, well, first of all, I love how, I love the look of undercover Lando and Dragon. One of my favorite little moments in Return of the Jedi, no matter how many times I see it, is that little fourth wall break he does where he pulls down the mask and he's like, hey, look, it's me. But yeah, I don't know. Return of the Jedi, like, I like that, of course, obviously he has the big moment with blowing up the Death Star and he's got the moment breaking out Han. I don't really think he has a whole lot to do in the movie, and this is kind of like one of the problems with him post Empire. Is that I really don't feel like they explore the moral ambiguity of him as much as they really should. Although, granted, I'm sure a lot of that took place in the 3 years between the two movies. Kind of like building up his trust again. But I don't know. It is kind of a bummer that there isn't as much of a distrust with Han, in the movie. Is there, I don't know. I feel like that's not as played up as it should be. What do you think?
Well, it's interesting you say that, Tiki, because I look at Jedi, I see this as like Lando. You're right. There's definitely a space, and I'm sure remember he's going undercover for at least months, if not a few years. Because sometimes the jury's out like how much time passes between Jedi and Empire Strikes Back. I think it's supposed to be like 2 to 3 years, as per like the difference when the movie came
I always
out.
thought it was like at least 2 years. Yeah.
The point being, at least once they find him, then for months he's undercover as the thing. So every way you want to read. The point being, he's probably in the moral gray for at least for a few months as he's undercover, doing Jabba's bidding. So there's definitely some moral gray there. But that's the thing. He's atoning for the sins that he committed in Empire, the stuff that obviously kind of he realized before it was too late when he was doing something. Betraying his friends and so on and so forth. And essentially, he was kind of. This is going to sound so corny. He was cheating at the game of friendship. He was cheating at the life's game.
That is pretty corny, Dragon.
I know. But point is, he goes doing this deep cover at Jabba's palace. He saves Han. I love it when he saves Han. I love that Han and Lando. They have such a there's such a history with these guys. I love the fact that they probably have double crossed each other so many times that forgiveness is a huge...
what? That's a good point. Yeah.
That's why I don't think Han has to worry about like a whole distrust of Lando. He doesn't hold a grudge against Lando because remember, we'll get to when we get to it. The fact is, these guys in dialogue they constantly mention like, oh, you calling each other swindlers and pirates and oh my and all that sort of stuff. It's because of that. It's the fact that their whole relationship is based on forgiveness, which is kind of neat. So he's always like a live and learn, like, I would have done the same thing. We're all good, man. That sort of thing. So he saves Han. Han returns the favor at the Sarlacc, but again, they're saving each other, which is nice. Of course, they have that great moment, like, I thought you were blind. It's got a blind Han Solo, a little higher. And by the way, this. I know you know this, but Billy Williams, he got really hurt during that scene. The squib went through his toe.
Yeah.
Poor Billy D. Anyway, but again, back to your point, D. Sorry, here's what I was getting at: is that Lando? I read it as Lando matured over time. Where again, the most moral gray that we had was Empire, and probably the time before that we didn't see. We eventually get like a Solo, where again, that's where we get all the moral gray of this character. But again, after Empire, after he kind of sees the error in his ways, he is on a redemptive arc where he just he matured over time. As each time we check in with Lando, he's kind of inching closer and closer to. He's joining a noble cause. He becomes a general, and he has a big role in saving the day. He became a good guy, a full-fledged good guy, and that's kind of where we are with him.
Yeah, sure, fair enough.
All right, speaking of which. Rise of Skywalker. So, by the way, we should mention this because I know you love this movie. Last Jedi. I like it too, don't get me wrong. I'm not casting any shade. The point being, Last Jedi, apparently there's always talk about Billy D. Williams supposed to show up in The Last Jedi, and apparently he's supposed to be, they talked about him being a code breaker on Canto Bight.
Yeah, that's absolutely where he should have been. If anything, he maybe even should have been DJ's character.
No, that's the one. Like he was supposed to be like DJ specifically, but yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about
I know.
he was going
Sorry.
to
Yeah.
be Justin
Sorry.
Theroux's
I
character.
got stuff wrong. Sorry, I meant to specify DJ because
Yeah.
you're thinking the Justin Theroux character, but I think either way it would have worked. Out. If you want a cameo, go the Justin Theroux route.
Right.
But either way, you would have had more Lando than you had in that movie. But anyway, so Rise of Skywalker. Though, so back to the one we actually showed up in. So we kind of fill in the blanks in dialogue that he had adventures with Luke Skywalker. You know, the idea.
I like that. I like that idea. I would like to see that. I would like to see that idea on screen.
You know, I'd like to read him.
I really want a fucking Disney Plus Luke Skywalker series, Dragon.
Tiki, I mean, yeah, if they get Mark Hamill or if they get Sebastian Stan playing Mark Hamill, I'm down for it.
No, I don't. You know what? With all due respect to Sebastian Stan, I don't want Sebastian. I want Mark Hamill.
Obviously, I want Mark Hamill, Tiki. I'm just saying, like, if I still want to see it at least once, I want to see him Sebastian Stan play a young Luke Skywalker at least once. But I don't know. Probably never going to happen. I don't know. Anyway, so back on point. Sorry. Let's think. So he's going on adventures with Luke, and my headcanon was that Han settled down with the family, so that's why Han wasn't kind of part of the adventure. It's why it's not. He's kind of like Lando and Han going on adventures anymore, and perhaps I kind of gave a little bit of lonely Lando time, and Lando's going on adventures with Luke, and they're searching for the dark side of the Force, which essentially is Exegol, which apparently we don't have time to get into. There's some speculation we're going to do more stuff with Exegol in the future of Star Wars. I have no idea what that means, but the point being the birthplace of the Sith being Exegol. It's kind of the grand idea, looking for what's the dark side of the Force is the Sith, so maybe there's some answers as to maybe we can wipe out all the bad stuff in the world if we find this place. That's kind of the last kind of grand adventure they went to, and then Lando goes the path of all retired generals. Look at your Obi-Wans, look at your Yodas. It's always hermit life for the
hermit life, specifically on a desert planet.
Yes, so you went the way.
Well, I guess not the case with Yoda, but
no, but you look at like Luke and again, Luke's kind of scaly. You know what I mean? The point being, they all go in the hermit.
Well, it's funny. Luke and Yoda kind of like mirror each other, and then Obi-Wan and him and Lando kind of mirror each other.
Yeah. The point being, it kind of goes the path of most generals. They go hermitization.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not big on where Lando is in Rise of Skywalker, just because I don't want to sound critical.
Okay, well,
with Rise of Skywalker, it's just I don't mean to like copy and paste my point, but it's just like I just really feel like we needed more of him, and even if like you made good points about why we didn't really need to address the moral ambiguity of him. But by the same point, I wanted more, man. I don't know, like why does he, why is he not leading Cloud City anymore?
Well, okay, two things. Okay, one, Cloud City was overrun by the Empire, so Cloud City probably just isn't Cloud City anymore. But then again, it's been ages since the war, so you're not entirely wrong about that. I'll give you that. The point being, it's most likely Cloud City. For all we know, Cloud City was probably could have been destroyed. For all we know, we have no idea.
All right.
Now, here's the thing. So let me fill in some blanks with Lando here. This is what my research kind of led me to. Apparently, there's some confirmation. Apparently, the confirmation was Lando had a daughter who was kidnapped and essentially reconditioned as a female stormtrooper, which was Janna, which basically the character that we mentioned when we did our Finn episode, Janna. And apparently, so after all of that, so I like to think again. I like that yet again he parallels Han Solo in a sense, where Han Solo had a whole thing with his family, and now in a sense, bear in mind we didn't see this in the movie at all. Didn't really spell it out at all, mind you, but I think the implication is that now Lando might have a shot at having a family like his old buddy
did. Yeah, once again, this is...
Again, we didn't see any of this.
How much of the... it's a shame how much of the sequel trilogy stuff is kind of like, all right, let's fill in the blanks with stuff from books and stuff like that, and, stuff that was going to be in the movies but didn't make it in.
Yeah, but still, just knowing this knowledge, knowing the fact that Lando kind of settled down his child, he kind of lost the child that was kind of taken in by the First Order, and that's kind of adding to kind of the Thea's hermitization, I'd imagine. That's kind of interesting, would you admit?
Mm-hmm.
Not in the movie at all, but just learning it. It's kind of interesting. But what we do have with Lando, though, is like he plays the role of the cavalry, and it is kind of an awesome moment. You know, it's like we see all these ships just kind of like waiting. Again, he's kind of the he's saving the bacon of our new generals, Poe and Finn, kind of the next generation. He's flying again. Not only is he flying again, he's flying the Falcon. Kind of nice. Then we kind of get helpful Lando, as I like to call. I like to call that ending where he's like, "Hey, Janet, Janet's like saying, oh, I don't know where I come from. Let's find out." I was like, I just read that again, not knowing this whole daughter thing. I was like, I have no idea if that's his daughter. It could be really weird. I thought like we're just connecting where there's nothing there. Apparently, I was wrong about that. But again, not in the movie. Can't believe.
I always kind of got the sense that it was his daughter because, frankly, if it wasn't his daughter, then that line would have a flirtatious vibe to it.
That's what I'm saying. Here's the thing. I hear you on that. That's what I'm saying because it's just really. There's just no evidence, but again, you have to just go with the assumption. Okay, it's either a daughter or it's just I kind of read it purely as him just being like, man, I guess Lando's just really friendly out of left field. So I read it as like an out of left field thing. Man, Lando's just really friendly in his old age. He's just it's like, okay, let's go on an adventure. That's kind of what I read it as, and that's kind of. I mean, you're right. It is like literally those two ways to read it. The other, like the whole like either it's being flirtatious or it's a daughter. Which again, there's no evidence to support the daughter thing until now.
All right.
Okay. Anyway, point being, Lando's completely selfless. Any way you want to read it by the end of things, and that whether it's you look at the daughter thing, where he's just a friendly guy, really helpful, and just completed arc for Lando. Lando, nice guy at the end of the day. Okay.
So moments, let's get into it, Dragon. Let's get into it with the whole you old pirate.
You no good, you dirty double-crossing swindler. You have a lot of guts coming back here. And I love,
man,
of course.
I mean, it's like, we're like the millionth people on the internet to be like, remember, this is like us doing member berries at this point, Dragon. But still, it's such a good character introduction. It's like, it puts you instantly on your guard, and then the whole come here, you old pirate, that's just like, oh no, there's nothing to fear with this guy at all. He's harmless.
The reunion cloud's a absolutely perfect introduction. It just instantly establishes a history between Lando and Han, and again, there's that little moment of you may not be able to trust him, but oh god,
I love Han's little nonverbal. Who, me?
I know that's what I'm talking about. Is that little the point me, and then again he goes in for the hug with the little defense is he gonna punch me or what? And then they go right. What you doing, you old pirate? And of course see through saying very friendly, just it's just perfect. You even see through whether you can trust him or not. Yeah, you can bet that you'll love him somehow. You're gonna feel love for this guy, and again, their friendship in that moment, the whole friendship built on the foundation of forgiveness. In that moment of you've done you double crossed me, but I love you, man. He forgave him right there after years since he's seen him last time, and it's quite nice. And that's Lando. The whole relationship built on the foundation of forgiveness. Okay,
totally.
So speaking of the foundations of friendships, let's go back in time, man. Let's talk about the Sabacc game for the Falcon. I guess let's splice together them both, but I'm thinking more the latter one. Anyways, point being, playing for the Falcon.
I mean, to be honest with you, I kind of like the latter one a little better, just because it's a bit more brief. It's a nice sort of punchline to the movie.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Not to say that the first one's bad or anything. I'm just saying, I like the second one. It's just kind of nice. It's like a nice aside. It's a PS, if you will.
Yeah, me too.
Right.
But anyways, we had the hotshot versus the gambler. It's like they build the rapport. You see Lando cheats, but again, Han was hustling him though. He's just trying to con him from the get-go. So it's kind of even on that regard in the first go around. But it all works out in the end. Again, Han really won that game. But and again, I love now that informs the new green. The whole you old pirate again. It's because of that hug which Han gives him and steals his card doing that thing. That's why they agree each other like that, which is kind of cute.
I am a big fan of high-stakes poker and card games in movies, so, this scene definitely scratched my itch there.
Speaking of the Falcon, again, I want to mention my favorite scene in Solo is probably when Lando shows Han on to the Falcon for the first time. He's on board. He's in the cockpit, and Han mentions his father essentially was in kind of the GM motor of the Ford of the galaxy on Corellia, where his father built ships like this. And that's why there's the connect to that, and the ultimate kind of takeaway from it. It's such a beautiful moment that kind of speaks to Han Solo. And I love that Lando, in part, through the whole kind of Falcon affair, is that with that moment, especially by the end, when, of course, Han eventually gets the Falcon, he made Han Solo complete with that ship. And I think that's really important with Lando. Lando, in part, again, without that ship, we don't have Star Wars. We don't.
Yeah, totally.
It's pivotal, and Lando is kind of very historic for that reason. Again, he kind of made everyone whole, which is kind of nice.
All right. Okay,
betrayal.
Betrayal. Oh, God. We already pretty much talked blue in the face about this. This is a big defining moment with him, but what else to say about it? Of course, Dragon. I love the doom and gloom of the the meeting where it's the conference room. You know what I mean?
I love it's a pleasantry trap. I love this
exactly.
I love how Lando uses this charming pleasantry, which kind of hidden on Leia, says, "Let's go grab some refreshments," and all that. So, here's what's so great about that scene, though, Tiki. I love the build-up. I love the walk in the. You're right. The gloom and doom on the lead-up. So Lando, through conversation, which is really brilliant, Tiki, as they're walking to essentially the dining hall, the little dining hall. That Vader's just kind of waiting and all menacingly. But again, there's a robot chicken thing about that. We get all
right,
that.
Right.
My point is, Lando, through conversation, he is subtly building his case to his friends because he's feeling guilty. He's saying as to why he betrayed him, because he's saying we run a small enough operation that the Empire doesn't notice us. And Han's asking the pivotal question, well, aren't you worried about it? Basically, it's a small operation. Aren't you afraid what the Empire's going to do when they find out? And then we have just this sad look as he opens the door. And again, this is the most brilliant thing that D. Williams does in the whole movie. He drops the charm when he's kind of saying, when he's saying this, we have company, that whole thing. When he basically, on the lead up, at the very end, he kind of takes out the charm. He's just saying it very, very mechanically, very somberly, but again, so he's kind of delivering it without oh man, where's the fun and the levity of Lando right now? It's gone. Where he says, this reveals, I made a deal. This is the line where he says, I made a deal to keep the Empire out of here forever. And of course, as he says that, then of course Vader reveal, and it's it's heartbreaking. Lando, no, no. Why, Lando? We trusted you. I believed in the Tim Burton's Harvey
Dent. It's almost
Dent.
kind of like a Last Supper type situation, especially the symbolism of the dinner table.
Yep. I hear you.
All right. Okay, so the Lobo save, the redemption.
Lobot, yeah. So little fun fact about Lobot. So Lobot, of course, tell me you weren't just intrigued by Lobot the first time you saw him.
Oh, I was. I'm sorry.
We all were.
I don't know why I called him Lobo. My bad.
That's another great character, but not a Star Wars character. Okay, so Lobot. Lobot, so basically Lobot's story in 2 seconds here is that he was an less than a minute. So that he was an Imperial slave. And the Empire had this guy, they hooked up a computer to his head, which basically kind of made him a little very, had a kind of a logical database at his disposal. And he kind of befriended Lando Calrissian. They went on some adventures together, kind of developed a liking towards each other. And there's this big moment where Lando, he was a goner, and in order to save Lando, apparently he could tap into more of his Imperial kind of database, brain power, but at the cost of his humanity. And that's why Lobot doesn't speak.
Oh, man.
He turned off his humanity to kind of bolster everything there. That's why he's just kind of at the beckoning call of, he's more robot than man now. Or I guess more bot than low at this point.
That's pretty deep.
That's the thing. It's really interesting, though. And again, I love that. I always love that. Yeah. I always love the watch the watch sized little computer, little communication device on Lando's arm that he basically slyly pushes, and someone's Lobot and company's Lobot's game for whatever Lando's saying there, and it's okay, so we're gonna save everybody as Lando makes his big case, as he's being strangled to death by a Wookiee, no, we can still save Han. So he does the right thing before it's too late. Yeah. But however, though, wearing Han's clothes at the end is a little, as odd as that is, as odd as it is that he's wearing Han Solo's clothes at the end of the movie. I'm not just saying this as a fan of the Cape. I'm just saying it was always like a little weird. Never bothered me until like, it was pointed out to me. Like, oh yeah, he's wearing Han's clothes. What's the deal with that? Like, why is he?
It's a little unceremonious. It's a little unceremonious, and all things considered.
Now, just tabling that observation, though, here's what's really nice. Here's what's really interesting. That I love it's a bittersweet note to end on with Lando is that he returns to his old ship, but not like out of like he didn't lose, he didn't win in a bet.
Yeah,
he was
there. Absolutely.
Again. It's kind of like him wearing. It's like him bearing the cross of like the betrayal. That's kind of what that's a symbol of. He got his ship back, but through what means?
Yeah, no. There's a lot of great symbolism and character development through that last one for sure. Through that last shot.
Okay, so the big. I always love this. This is my favorite scene of Lando and Jedi. Man, I love the goodbye with Han. So this is beautiful. So this is again, no matter what happened with the whole Cloud City affair, the whole frozen carbonite thing. Look at how jolly Han Solo is. Just kind of approaching Lando like right before they split off for the rest of the movie. But Lando goes in his whole like blow up the Death Star kind of voyage. It's like this big great moment of friendship. One could say, French. So anyway, so basically all is forgiven. Like literally, like you think when he'd come out, like, he wouldn't want to give this guy the Millennium Falcon. He's just like, please take her off my hands. Like he basically used her for the mission. He's so forgiving, and he wants Lando to take his ship to protect him. And he won't say to protect him, but his love it's just like he's basically boasting about his ship. It's the fastest ship. You should take it. And I love it's kind of a promise. It's like when you give someone you give a friend who's going away like something a year so they'll remember you. Basically, so like I'm going to get that when I come back. It's like a wartime thing. It's like he promises that I'll see you on the other side through the whole like, not a scratch on my ship, not a scratch on it. And one of the great things Harrison Ford didn't even really want to be in the Return of the Jedi, but I love that he had this really great moment where he says to Leia, I have a funny feeling I'm not gonna see her again, see the ship again. But of course, what he really means, I have a funny feeling I'm not gonna see Lando again. It makes me sad. It's like, oh man, that's nice, man. That's nice.
Mm-hmm. All right. Then finally, blowing up the second Death Star. I mean, oh god, I don't know what else there is to say about it except it's really cool.
Lando going out on a high note with Nidnob.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah. And honestly, I feel like the actual like explosion itself, and kind of how we see the ship, kind of like the point of view of flying through the trenches as it's blowing up, and the fireball kind of chasing after the Falcon. I think the explosion is like honestly like even cooler than it is in A New Hope, like by a pretty considerable margin.
You gotta remember, Lando, something not even Han Solo could do in blowing up the Death Star, because Han Solo just shows up and he goes, whoa, he takes out Vader, mind you, but he doesn't blow up the Death Star. It's all Luke. Lando.
Right.
Blew it up, though.
Oh, yeah. All
right.
And that leads us to Legacy Dragon. I'll take the lead on this. Because,
the Impact. It's the Impact.
Impact. Sorry. Impact, Legacy. I get the two confused. They're very synonymous with each other. My bad. So yeah, Impact Dragon, I just feel like Lando, without Lando, we really wouldn't have, again, with the moral gray, but also with kind of like the African-American characters. Dragon, it's funny because I feel like with pop culture, up until this point with Lando, African-American characters could either sort of be just like very, very like eternal and, like very, very good. Is the case like, a Cindy Poitier type, for example, you know what I mean? Like, I guess who's coming to dinner type, like a very noble African-American gentleman or something like that. Or they could be kind of like that blaxploitation era sort of thing, or they could be kind of like the villain, or they could be just kind of like the goat to be killed off. And I feel like Lando kind of like defined African-American characters in a different way, Dragon. I feel like he kind of took elements of kind of that Cindy Poitier type of, charming, very important, distinguished black gentleman mixed with that blaxploitation era. And, kind of like it's all these different ingredients rolled up into one character. And I feel like because of him, we got other characters like like the alien for I forget his name because I'm not a big alien guy, but the alien.
Yaphet Kotto.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like Lando bred an age of characters who weren't just kind of just going to kind of tie into the outro of it all, but he wasn't just black and white, but he was brimming with color and personality. Dragon, you know what I mean? Just very much kind of like the morally gray in a good way. Suddenly these sorts of characters could exist and kind of have like a whole wide range of different emotions and different motivations, and it wasn't just a one note sort of deal. I hope I'm making sense with all this.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, it was a huge, the big impact with Lando is that again he showed he wasn't he kind of broke the mold in like what you could do with kind of a black character in a very popular franchise. He wasn't just kind of boxed into a corner. I think that's what you're getting at, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'm sorry, I'm being very long winded with how I'm getting about it, but yes.
So just to kind of like also we like to kind of like go over some of the some of the other things that kind of like have impacted like Lando's impacted the culture in a big way. I mean, like, there's been a lot of love shown to Lando over the years. Of course, Billy D. Williams, as we mentioned, he's very enthusiastically participated in said love. I mean, for example, Robot Chicken. We need to go through everything here, but he's been on Robot Chicken. I think my favorite thing that he's ever done is that in real life, you got to remember, so Billy D. Williams, he does Empire Strikes Back was like a monolithic movie. Everybody's talking about like the spoiler, man. It was the spoiler.
Right, right.
And with that, of course, you have Billy D. Williams in there with that movie. All the attention going to that movie is like everyone's like before Jedi comes out, he's being hounded like, "How dare you, Lando? We loved you. How could you do it? You froze Han, you son of a." So Billy D. Williams did get a lot of hate mail for that. He got a lot of hate for that for a while. Again, they loved him. That's what made him hurt so much. Again, something powerful about that is people felt such an emotional reaction. It's like the whole.
Yeah, it's like I feel like Robot Chicken did a good job of that, with the Han Solo, or I'm sorry, with the Lando fan characters, where they'd approach Lando, they'd be big fans of him, but by the same time, they'd be like, "Hey, why do you have to do that?"
Yeah, Billy D. Williams is going. I just love the idea of Billy D. Williams going about his day, like checkout counter in a grocery store, just being hounded by questions. I love that Billy D. Williams. He's so pleasant though. It's like he'll chat the fans up because he does hear all the time. He does have a response to him. I love that he does argue the good points of what Lando did, and again, he makes a genuine case for him. I buy it. Makes a genuine case for it. You never win. That's kind of the lesson of that. And then, of course, we have him like in the Lego Movie, for example. Lego Movie, he's complimenting Batman's cape, which is like how much better could it get in life? They have Lando Calrissian in a movie, just complimenting Batman's cape and essentially hitting on the main lead of the movie, like wild style.
That definitely was a big selling point to the Lego movie. Was kind of like all that crossover potential for sure.
I think it just like came out for like that one scene, like he goes off on
potential that's now lost now that Warner Brothers doesn't own Lego anymore. But I digress.
Yeah, now we're bummed out. Thanks for that. But
sorry,
because I was all like my Lego high of like, and the Millennium Falcon came in, the Batman went on.
All right. I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's fine. It's all fine. Anyway, so
I'm sure that Universal has a plethora of characters that we can. I mean, for God's sake, somehow Harry Potter will probably still be involved in the Universal Lego movies. God knows.
Gremlins 3 in Lego form. What do you know? Okay,
that's what I'm saying.
All right. So the point being, like,
black and white Norman Bates Lego.
Oh, okay. Don't tease me with that, but yes.
All right.
Okay. My point is, Lego tangent. But the deal is getting worse all the time in Robot Chicken with Lando as well, which is hysterical. It's like,
yeah.
My point is taking these earmarks from the culture movies of Star Wars, and we're running wild with them in a lot of really creative ways. Key and Peele, some of the masters of sketch comedy. Key and Peele, basically kind of with the whole Black history, but all they're playing into the prestige of the first Black Star Wars character. And what were the other Black characters in Star Wars they didn't really spend time with? Or the other Black people in Star Wars that we never spent any time with until years later is like, what would they think of like, man, Lando really is doing it right. Let's get in on it. Let's evaluate the status of this character. And again, especially during the whole Cloud City affair and the political, kind of the politico of it all, the moral gray politico of it all.
Right.
And even some fan films about Lando, which again, the one Tiki and I touted off first, the shout out, Black Star Warrior,
which is really, really damn good, and we could do a whole recap on that. I mean, it hits the tone so well.
And again, a fun little kind of nod to Billy D. Williams, the actor, with his blaxploitation roots, which again
Right.
probably in part inspired where Lando went. So anyway, so in closing for me, unless you got anything else you really want to kind of talk about.
No, I'm good.
I guess in closing for me, I'll be long-winded as well. No, I'm going to try not to do that. So basically, with Lando, the big
I've
take
got
was,
a certain appointment with a certain lawyer I've got to
oh,
get to,
I,
Draken.
I'm well aware. Don't worry, don't worry. Okay, so at the end of the day,
You're going to take
Lando.
20 minutes for your closing statement. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Anyway, so I think the big takeaway with Lando at the end of the day, with kind of the impact on the cultures, he had diverse. It was diversity with flair in the best way. It didn't matter who you were. It doesn't matter who you are. Universally, we were all charmed by Lando. We all trusted Lando. We all felt betrayed. We all boarded the same emotional roller coaster. You'll be hard pressed in life to find anyone really opposed to Lando post 1980, when everyone's like reeling from Empire Strikes Back. Outside of that year, well, you rarely find anyone with like a negative word about Lando. Everyone's just like, "Oh man, I love that Lando Calrissian guy." Yeah, one could argue he's a half, if not even with the Chewbacca factor, and maybe like a third of the reason we love Han Solo. Because we really judge him. You judge a man by who he knows. By the company he keeps. You judge a man by the company he keeps. And of course, that's Lando. Lando is this exciting, enterprising, old smoothie. You can't help but love. Had any other actor you played this character. I mean, for all we know, Yaphet Kotto could have played this character. There's a chance that Lando could have come off as cheesy. Again, it could have been a misfire of kind of like just hitting the blaxploitation thing right, but also hitting a character you can invest in. Donald Glover, he was picked very specifically in the casting process, which I'm sure was very vast in finding just the right guy. They had to get it right, otherwise people are going to know, like, that's not my Lando. That's not the guy. It's just, we just got an actor to put on a mustache and a cape. That's not Lando. But it worked out. Lando, as a character, is designed to make you want more. He's the old cell, but he leaves you wanting more. That's the character. In that respect, he is the thrill of the gamble, the spirit of adventure. He's brimming with charm, wrapped in a cape, and that's Lando Calrissian in a nutshell.
All right. Well, that's it for this year, folks. We've taken a look at all the shining stars in the galaxy far, far away, who showed us worlds not simply black or white, but brimming with color, as well as character. Join us next time on the next installment of Black History Heroes.
This deal's getting worse all the time.
Why don't you roll your head on over and drift on off to Sleepland? Oh yeah, Colt 45.